6 school culture types. I have about a minute apiece to talk about each one, and the one that I chose to begin with is number 6 in the book, but it is the most important to me, which sounds weird, but it is the toxic school culture. I say that it's the most important to me because I work in a toxic school culture, and I have worked in such for going on 3 years now. In the book, it says that in a toxic school culture, we should think of a school where teachers do little more than sleep at their desk, hand out worksheets, humiliate students publicly, and gossip about colleagues. It only takes a few negative teachers for a culture to become toxic, and unfortunately, because of the power that a culture holds over the perceptions of its members, it can often be hard for teachers to see just how dysfunctional their school has become. I don't think that this is singled out to teachers. Administration has a big role in the toxicity of a culture. As a school leader, I would use my experience in that environment to better the culture wherever I am. My hope is to stay where I am and improve that culture. Just being visible and transparent with the staff and the students will help to sway the culture to a more positive way. That school culture type is the comfortable collaborative school culture. In the text, it says that in a comfortable collaborative school culture, teachers are generally aware of what their colleagues are doing in their classrooms, and they occasionally visit each other to discuss successes, but conversations about challenging students don't drill down very deep so as not to expose a teacher's weakness. I think another name for this would be called the complacent school culture, and again, I work in a culture as such. As a school leader, I think just motivating people and pushing them to want to perfect their craft would slowly but surely cause a shift in the culture from comfortable collaborative to a true collaborative school culture. Next up is the collaborative school culture, and that's Pounder notes. When we speak of changing schools into more collaborative organizations, what we really mean is that we want to change the nature of the relationships or patterns of relating. Collaborating with colleagues grants us access to expanded knowledge, resources, and creative alternatives for action, and also reveals any latent weaknesses in our methodology. At my school, where I currently work, of course it's easy to talk about where I work, but we were kind of forced into a collaborative school culture last year. We were placed in PLCs and forced to collaborate with team members. They could have been in different content areas, but it did expand our knowledge on the different content areas and the different techniques in the classroom that we could use in our own classroom. And if not, we could help our colleagues expand on how they use it in the classroom. So as much as it was forced, it was useful, and I know that as a school leader that it is beneficial, and I will ensure that not only I won't force it, but I will express the importance of collaborating and and encourage my staff to collaborate so that we can work to having a great school culture. The next type of school culture is the contrived collegial school culture. And in the text, it says that though the contrived collegial school culture is meant to support new approaches and techniques to teaching, it can feel superficial and actually reduce teachers' motivation to cooperate with any changes. As I said on the last type, we were kind of forced into the collaborative, and it kind of leads into this contrived collegial. It leads to micromanaging, and like I said, teachers feel forced to do things. And when you feel forced to do things, you really lack motivation. You just do it because it needs to be done. So as a leader, I will keep in mind my experiences as a teacher and use that when I become a leader to make things not feel forced, but feel like an option. Although it's required, it needs to feel like an option. But just, I guess a skill could be persuasion. Persuade my staff to want to learn more, want to collaborate, and want a better culture. Next up is the fragmented school culture. And the text says that in a fragmented culture, nothing new is seriously considered because staff members are content with the status quo, though they might discuss new teaching strategies and some might even experiment with them. This school culture type goes back to what I said about people being complacent, and I also thought that it's no major issue if a school culture is fragmented. It kind of goes back to this week's discussion board. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, when I become a school leader, I don't think that a fragmented culture is beneficial for growth or for change. So, like I keep saying, I'll put myself out there. I'll motivate my staff. I'll be persistent. I'll be persuasive to change the culture into the way that I see fit for my building. And last but not least is the culture that I had to Google to make sure that I was pronouncing the correct way. And I still don't know if I am. But it's the balkanized school culture, which is so common, in my opinion, for people to form cliques and form groups and ultimately divide the staff. Students do it too. In the book, it says that if the fragmented culture encourages competition among individuals, a balkanized culture encourages it among small groups. It could be detrimental, it could be beneficial. As a school leader, I plan to, go the beneficial route and use the balkanized culture as a way to lead to a whole community of collaborating and love, and this is what you want as a school leader. You want everything to be together and cohesive for the sake of your staff and the sake of your students and their success and their achievement.